Welcome back to Next Shift with Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. The Montreal Canadiens are coming off a brutal defeat 6-1 last night against the St. Louis Blues, who are on a heater. The Canadiens didn't start off too strong and didn't end off too strong. They got one goal by Nick Suzuki, assisted by Lane Hudson. The Canadiens started off poorly. Montembeault made some big saves to keep the team in the game. The Canadiens actually tied up the score 1-1, and going down to the last few seconds of the first period, they were tied 1-1 when a goal was scored with less than 5 seconds left, and that kind of broke their back because in the second period they came out flat. Obviously the St. Louis Blues were playing big, strong hockey. They're playing very well, and the Canadiens looked pretty much flat. Unfortunately, the Canadiens lose the game 6-1, as I mentioned. I guess fortunately we could say that the Canadiens didn't lose any ground last night. The Canadiens, like I said, lost 6-1, but the Senators lost 3-2 to the Buffalo Sabres. The Flyers lost, if that matters. The Penguins lost, if that matters. The Hurricanes lost. Probably doesn't matter. The Red Wings lost, that does matter, and the Rangers lost as well. So the Canadiens missed an opportunity to gain points on all of those teams. However, if you look at the standings today, the Canadiens are still in the second position. No one has any games in hand on them. They're in the driver's seat. They have 12 games remaining. They're at 75 points. The Rangers have 74 points, but have played 2 games more. The Islanders have 74 points and the same amount of games. That's probably the team, like I mentioned, that scares me the most. The Blue Jackets are at 73 points, only 2 points behind, so they're right there. The Red Wings are at 72 points, but they've played an extra game, and they have one of the harder schedules. So does Columbus. So, like I mentioned, the Canadiens have the destiny in their hands. They have a tough schedule the next 3 games. They're on the road, back-to-back. The first game's in Philadelphia. That's a huge win. Everyone's been beating Philadelphia. They're back-to-back the next night against the Carolina Hurricane, who've been inconsistent. They just lost last night. They're pretty much solid in the second spot, so they're not really playing for a lot, which is good for the Canadiens. And so that's another game that they should compete in. Obviously, they'll be on back-to-backs, and Carolina won't, so that will be a negative. And then just a couple of days later, midday against the Florida Panthers, the Canadiens are playing them, and that will be an interesting game. The Canadiens have had Florida's number the last couple of games. Florida's not playing great. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They just won a game, but they're not playing as great as they were, obviously, last year. They are fighting for either the first, second, or third spot. They're definitely in the playoffs, but it's a closer contest, so they'll be playing for something. And so really the Montreal Canadiens have 3 road games in a row. Then they go home and they play Florida again. So the next 4 games are going to be huge, and the Canadiens have to win 2. They have to get at least 4 points in their next 4 games. I would say they have to get 5. It's really important considering all the teams right behind them. The other teams have some tough, games ahead. Tonight, the Islanders are playing the Canucks, another team fighting for the playoffs. The Canucks have not been playing great. The Devils are playing the Blackhawks. I mention the Devils only because they're kind of reeling a little bit, and a team like the Islanders or the Rangers or Columbus could catch them, and the Devils could be the team the Canadiens have to beat. The Devils are currently 6 points ahead of the Montreal Canadiens at 81 points. The Canadiens do have 2 games in hand, and the Ottawa Senators are 4 points ahead of the Montreal Canadiens with the same amount of games, and the Canadiens do play the Ottawa Senators one more time. So if they can win that game, which is a big if, then they're only 2 points behind, and therefore the first wildcard spot is not out of the realm of possibility. This is what we call being in the mix, and this is a young Canadiens team. They didn't look good at all last night. Not going to pretend any different. However, tomorrow's another day, and the Canadiens play the Philadelphia Flyers, who just lost 7-2 to the Maple Leafs. They're pretty much out of it, and the Canadiens have everything to win, and the Flyers have nothing to lose. So it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be an important one. They're definitely not playing as well the last couple of games, and so the Canadiens need to play a good hockey game on Thursday night. I'm predicting the Canadiens win this game. I'm hoping it's going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 4-1 or 4-2. The Canadiens have to play some smart hockey. They have to get back to what was helping them win some games right after the Four Nations Cup. This is a type of game that they can win if they play the right kind of hockey. So looking for that from Martin St. Louis' squad. I don't know who's going to start. I assume it's probably going to be Montembeault, although he had a rough game. He started off the game fairly well, keeping the team in it, but the last couple of periods, he actually got pulled with a few minutes left, so the 6th goal was scored against Dobish. I think they're going to start Montembeault only because they need to start Montembeault and or Dobish in one of those 2 games, and if they have Dobish playing the first game, then Montembeault would have to play Friday and then Sunday afternoon, quick turnaround. So I expect the Montreal Canadiens to have Montembeault play. I don't think it really matters who's playing in the game. It's a big win, a big game for the Montreal Canadiens, so they're going to need to depend on their goaltending and their team in general. We'll see how it goes. Still bullish about the Montreal Canadiens. The next game is going to be really defining. If they can win the game against Philadelphia and get back on track, and if they can compete well against the Hurricanes and maybe get a point or two, I think the next two games are going to be key, but one game at a time. Looking forward to the game. That's it for me. That's it for Next Shift. Talk to you guys soon. And Suzuki does not suck.